but we're gonna get into it tonight. All right. So let's do this. All right. So we live. Welcome, y'all. Welcome back. Tonight we're gonna be talking about how to navigate through the tier one, tier two, tier three vendors. Just giving you guys, as always, just some strategy on how to navigate through each vendor tier. Some things to keep in mind as you move along when you're adding these trade lines. If you saw last week, we gave you basically 10 trade lines to start with to get started when building business credit. Now, all of the trade lines we covered last week. Again, for everybody on Instagram, you may want to hop over to the YouTube channel. If you want to see my slides, same handle, Carolina's Own. Thank you to everybody that is watching this on the YouTube channel. We appreciate the support. As always, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you like this content. All right, so quick commercial out the way. But last week we gave you guys 10 basically starter vendors that you could get pretty easily with not a lot of trade lines reporting, and you can start to build your business credit profiles that way. All right, so tonight what we're going to do, we're going to take it a step further, right? So let's say you get 5 of those 10 that we covered last week. Now, how do you move to tier 2? How do you move on to tier 3? All right. So that's what we're going to cover tonight. I don't want to hold you guys too long. But as always, if you're watching this on Facebook or if you're watching this on YouTube, please give StreamYard the permission, grant them access to show your name when we get in the Q&A. All right. And so, again, if you're watching this in the Facebook group or if you're watching this in the YouTube channel, please give StreamYard the permission to show your name so that I can address you properly and make sure you get credit for your question. As always, Instagram, you can head on over to the YouTube channel if you want to see my screen. So let's get into it. All right. So tonight we are talking about how to essentially move through the different tier levels inside of business credit, right? Because you hear a lot of people talk about tier 1, tier 2, but what does that really mean in regards to how you navigate through each tier, right? Where are you at tier 1? Do you have any trade lines? Do you have none? Okay. And this is important because essentially what you want to do when you're building business credit trade lines is you want to get ones in the beginning that report, but you want to also kind of think about it with a strategy, right? So you don't just want to have an 80 paydex per se. You want to spread them out. So you want to get trade lines that report to Dun & Bradstreet, Business Equifax, and Business Experian, okay? And the reason being is that all 3 bureaus kind of are important at this point in the game. Beforehand, a lot of people said that, building Business Equifax really wasn't important. I would beg to differ at this point. A lot more banks are pulling Business Equifax as well as Dun & Bradstreet. So you have BB&T, for instance, they pull Business Equifax. Okay, they pull Business Equifax. All right, so just keep that in mind. That you do need to kind of focus on all 3. I wouldn't necessarily say just focus on Dun & Bradstreet. Again, if you watch the other first YouTube live video we had where we broke down that 80 paydex strategy. That strategy is proven to work repeatedly. I've had numerous people DM me on Instagram, Facebook, using that exact strategy to get to that 80 paydex score level, right? Because remember, to get an 80 paydex, you only need 3 unique vendor trade lines report, aka you need 3 different vendors that report the trade line that you purchased. Now, a lot of people were saying that Quill does not report. I have data points that show that Quill does report. The issue with Quill is you have to order over maybe a 60 to 90 day period for them to report. So just keep that in mind for Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, land. With Quill, you do need to spend money with them before they report. They won't just give you the net 30 and then hand it over to the bureaus per se, right? Because it's a symbiotic relationship. It goes hand in hand. You do your part, they do their part. So Quill is reporting as of this recording today, March 25th or 26th, excuse me. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the presentation, right? How to navigate business credit tiers, right? How to go from tier one to tier two to tier three, get a vehicle, no PG, all of that good stuff, right? All right, so essentially, and again, just a quick commercial. For anybody who's not familiar with my content, my name is Aubrey Truesdale. I'm a local entrepreneur, real estate entrepreneur slash investor, located here in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. Real estate entrepreneur, started in real estate in 2014. And I'm also a provisional score volunteer. So if anyone is not familiar with the SCORE program, it is a free program for business owners, entrepreneurs to get help, whether that's with a business plan, if they need help with marketing, just strategizing, getting a game plan together. SCORE is able to help you. We do free mentorship. So, I'll be mentoring people here in my local Charlotte chapter. Also, they do a lot of paid, great content, simple steps, things like $150 a presentation, but you get the live recordings, you get to keep those. So SCORE is a great program for anybody that's new to business, period. I highly recommend you join SCORE. It's absolutely free. There's no cost at all. And they do a great job at helping present information. Now, again, I am the founder of Carolina's Business Credit Alliance. Our goal this year is to help 200 business owners obtain $250,000 in capital for their business. Now, with that being said, you don't necessarily need to be in North Carolina, but I'm here in North Carolina, so I feel like I can be a resource to anyone in the Carolinas that's looking to build business credit. All right, so things you want to keep in mind before you start going for rounds of funding, right? Just in period, right? Whether there's bank funding, net 30 vendors, any type of funding or obtaining capital for your business. Here's a few things you definitely want to keep in mind. You want to make sure that you establish your entity. All right. I talked to a client today. They had a sole proprietorship, then switched over to an LLC. And now he's at the point where he wants to start getting some business credit, business lines of credit and things of that nature. So you have to, at some point, move from a sole proprietor to an LLC, S Corp, C Corp. Talk with your tax strategist to figure out which entity is best for you. Now, another thing that I always recommend when you're starting on your business credit journey is know what your personal credit is, where you stand on your personal credit. Because essentially, if you're not in the best personal credit position and you build out business credit, you still have to go back and take care of the personal and vice versa, right? Let's say you're working on your personal credit, but you want to build business credit. Well, it may take you, 4 to 6 months to, clean up your personal credit, but also start building business credit at the same time, because what you don't want to do is be in a situation where you're at the point to start applying and now you got to go back and build the business credit profiles, or now you got to go back and clean up, some negative issues or whatever you got going on in that personal credit. So I recommend out the gate, as soon as you start, know where you stand personal credit wise. All right, set up your bank compliance. Make sure you're bank compliant. I've done a video on this. I'll probably do another video, a shorter clip, not a live stream. But just make sure you're bank compliant. Make sure you have a website. Make sure you're visible on the internet. Make sure your business is listed everywhere. And then you want to try to build small trade lines. You want to get to about 4 trade lines on every business bureau. Okay, you want to do that within a 60-day time frame, because again, I don't like to waste time. Right? I don't want you guys spending, 6 to 12 to 18 months trying to build business credit when it really doesn't take that long. It really can be done in 60 to 90 days if done properly. Okay. And then lastly, just keep in mind that, most of the lending that we as small business owners are privy to will come from local banks, community banks, and credit unions. So you want to start reaching out to these local banks, small banks, community banks, and start inquiring about business credit cards, business loans, business lines of credit, whatever business lending products that they have available. Figure out which ones are right for what your situation is, and then start applying for those products. All right. All right. So now when we talk about net payment terms, just a quick recap. You should remember that when we talk about net payment, whatever the number is, so if it's a net 7, net 14, net 20, that essentially is the days that you have to repay in full. So the difference between business credit when we're talking about net term vendors is that net 30, net 20, net 14 vendors, you have to pay them in full. You don't get to carry a balance. So if you order $100 worth of Uline supplies and you have a net 30, that $100 is due in 30 days. You don't get the grace periods per se that you get with revolving lines of credit. All right, and one thing else to keep in mind, another thing just to keep in mind is that whenever possible, when you have gas cards, set them up on auto pay. It will save you a ton of money in fees later on down the road. Trust me, I know. Just pay with auto pay. You know, use the card. Don't go crazy getting $400 or $500 worth of gas unless you're a trucker or something. If you don't spend a lot of money on gas, don't overspend on gas just so it'll report. Just use it and it will report. All right. All right. So let's talk about it. Tier 1. Tier 1. All right. So essentially, Tier 1, right? What that essentially means is that you have 0 to 4 trade lines, right? So you're in the process of building business credit. You basically start from scratch, right? You could have one trade line, NAV or Uline, some 1 or 2 Quill maybe, but you don't really have an 80 Paydex yet. You're not at the point where you feel comfortable going to Sam's Club or Lowe's or Home Depot. Those are kind of like tier 2 business vendors, Citi, back cards, Honda, etc. So essentially what I came up with and how I kind of structured getting to out of tier 1, so to speak, in 60 days, right, is the 80 Paydex strategy, right? And essentially what that strategy is, and I've covered this in other live stream videos, so if you're on Instagram, you can go back on my IGTV. I did a whole live covering how to get an 80 Paydex in 60 days. But essentially what you want to do is you want to start out with 2 NAV accounts. Now, the way you want to do this is you want to get the NAV Business Boost Plan, the NAV Business Loan Builder Plan first. So you sign up with one email, you get the $49 a month Business Loan Builder Program. Then you go back to NAV for your same company that you're building business credit for, and you get the Business Boost Plan with a different email. So you need 2 unique emails to get 2 trade lines with NAV. Now, you won't get 2 trade lines on Business Experian or Dun & Bradstreet, but you will get 2 trade lines on Equifax, and that's really the hardest business credit report to build out. So that's why, I gave you guys that nugget on how to build out that business Equifax file. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you want to get 2 gas cards. I like the Wex brands. That's QT, Shell, 7-Eleven, all the gas stations here in North Carolina. Get a Wex Bank credit card, gas card, and get a fleet card. So that could be Fuelman, that could be BP MasterCard, that could be Arco, whatever gas stations that you have in your area that are backed by a fleet core. Get 2 gas cards. So 1 Wex, 1 fleet core. They report to all 3 business bureaus. Okay, at least the BP MasterCard does. I can't say for sure about Shell and the Wex. I know my QT reports to DNB. So at least they report to DNB. Okay. So you get your 2 gas cards, you got your 2 NAV accounts, and then you want to get Strategic Network Solutions. All right. So there's 2 NAV accounts on Equifax. That's 2 gas cards on Equifax, and then Strategic Network Solutions rounds out your 5 on Business Equifax. So at that point, once you get 5 on Business Equifax, you're pretty much out of tier 1 on that business credit reporting, right? So you can get out of tier 1 on Business Equifax pretty easily with this 80 Paydex strategy. All right, now again, like I said, with the gas cards, just keep in mind, try to set up auto pay whenever you can. I know, we as business owners, we may be bootstrapping. We may not be, in a position to set up auto pay and auto drafts for business expenses. But if you can set that up, I highly recommend it. All righty, so let's move right along. One of my favorites, again, the BP MasterCard reports to all 3 business bureaus. So that's out the box. You get NAV with all 3. BP MasterCard reports to all 3. Now, you can swap out BP MasterCard with Arco. What's another? Fuelman. Any of the fleet core cards that report to all 3 bureaus. All right. Now, if you wanted to double up with Fleet Core or Wex, they have something called cross corporate guarantee, which means that let's say you got a $2,000 QT card and you wanted to get a Shell card. Basically, what they're going to do is they can pull $500 off of that $2,000 for QT and place that with your Shell card. So you could take, 500 or 1,000 from whatever other Wex bank card that you have and apply it to a new account. So they'll spread it across different cards to help you get more trade lines reporting. All right, and the thing I like about the BP MasterCard is a net 14 trade line, but it does report to all three bureaus. Now, they also have made it pretty easy to track your invoice, see what you're spending on gas. It's not real hard to track that, so you can keep a record and understand where you stand for business, for your business reporting or for your accounting and things of that nature. So it's a good trade line. I always recommend it. All right, another one of my favorites is the Uline Net 30. So I like the Uline a lot. I like the Uline due to the fact that they report to not only Dun & Bradstreet, but they also report to Business Experian, okay? So the Uline is a great tier 1 vendor, right? If you have less than 4 active trade lines reporting, I like Uline a lot, okay? All right. Hey, Facebook user, if you could allow StreamYard to display your name, I'd be happy to take your question and see if you got any questions about anything we're covering tonight. But thank you for joining the live stream. All right, so another thing that you want to keep in mind with Uline is you want to be bank compliant. I'm going to say it every episode, say it every week. Be bank compliant because it goes a long way to show these vendors and these lenders that you're serious about your business. You take this seriously. You're asking for money. You're asking for them to extend you a net 30. So you want to make sure that they're they don't have any red flags about lending to you. Make sure you set up properly on the front end so you don't have to go back and make any changes or make a bunch of changes because you were not bank compliant, meaning you were using a Gmail, you didn't have a website, you didn't have a local phone number, didn't have a fax. All of that stuff matters when you're talking about, getting $250,000 in business funding. All of this stuff matters and comes into play. All right, so Uline, I like Uline a lot. BP MasterCard is great. Uline, they report to Business Experian, Dun & Bradstreet. Remember, some banks use the SBSS score, Small Business Success Score, which is a blended score of your personal experience and your business experience. So it is important that you build these 0 to 4 trade lines, right? Especially as we move out of COVID, banks start to, loosen up a little bit or maybe start lending more. You want to be in a position where banks don't have to question if you're bankable, if you're lendable. Get in position now. Make sure you set these profiles up so when you go to the bank and you ask for that $20,000 business credit card, you get the approval. We just had a $25,000 business credit card approval in our mentorship. One of our mentees got a $25,000 business credit card up in Pennsylvania from a local bank. So this stuff works if you work it, if you do the steps, if you take the right necessary steps, the stuff works. All right. So with Uline, one thing to keep in mind, they may ask for 2 cash payments up front, right, before they extend the net 30. Typically, if they don't give you the net 30, that means you're not bank compliant or your LLC is started within 30 to 45 days. So with that being said, what I always recommend, if you apply for a net 30 with Uline and they deny you or they ask you to pay in full, order twice within 30 days. Order 2 times within 30 days. On the third order, you should get extended a net 30 vendor account with Uline. So if you don't get it out the bat, don't worry about it too much. You can still get it. Just order twice within 30 days. I say each order maybe spend 50 to 80 minimum. 50 minimum, 80 max. You can spend 100 if you can. You don't necessarily need to. You don't necessarily need to spend $200. You can keep it around 100 to 150 bucks, 160 bucks, excuse me, 50 to 80 per order. Order twice within 30 days. That should be good. for Uline. All right, so let's move right along. And let's talk about CEO Creative, a sleeper. This one does. CEO Creative reports to Dun & Bradstreet, and they report pretty quickly. My trade line, I paid January. It popped on my Dun & Bradstreet report in February, late February. Late February, I saw a report on there. So they do report the trade line, CEO Creative. Now, one thing with CEO Creative is more of a branding site. You can get mugs, you can get logos. They do offer web design, but you need to be in business for at least 90 days. So if you're a brand new business owner, I would come back to CEO Creative in 90 days. I wouldn't try to, open a vendor account with them because they will need you to be open for 90 days before they give you a net 30. But they do report to Dun & Bradstreet. And like I said, they offer branding packages. They have website, graphic design, print, logo, etc. So CEO Creative, if you're over the 90-day trial period of your business, I highly recommend them because they report the trade line. That's a sleeper one that not a lot of people talk about. All right, so let's talk about tier 2, right? So now we're moving into the next tier, right? So tier 1, we're going to tier 2. So with tier 2, essentially what we want to do is we want to have at least 4 trade lines that are reporting. So we want to have, the 2 gas cards, the 2 nav accounts, maybe Strategic Network Solutions, Uline, SupplyWorks. Like I said, we gave you guys 10 basically starter vendors last week on YouTube. So check that out. It's 10 that you can pretty much get out the box. The only ones that you may have a issue with is CEO Creative, because you need to, be in business at least 90 days. The business has to be formed 90 days. Now, so one thing also to keep in mind when you're moving to tier 2 is that essentially on the business side, when we talk about how you get scored, it's either you pay on time or you're late. There's no wiggle room. Either you paid on time or you paid late. So what I always recommend when you're building out your tier 1 accounts is pay 7 to 10 days early. So make sure you're paying these vendors early. Don't, pay them on the due date of the invoice. If the invoice is due on the 30th, you want to make sure you pay them by the 23rd, okay? If you can pay on the 20th, that's the best. If it's due on the 30th, if you can pay on the 20th, that's gold, right? But no later than the 23rd, because, on time in business is kind of like you late, which is, kind of off the cuff for how we were trained to pay our credit cards, our loan payments, things of that nature. We pay on the date that it's due. All right, so another thing to keep in mind, you want to make sure, again, that you're listed everywhere, because with tier 2 vendors, they do a little bit of homework. They don't just necessarily, give you the trade line instantly. They are going to do a little due diligence. They want to see a website. They may Google your business. They may, see if you got any Yelp reviews. They may go to YP.com, YellowPages.com, 401.info. All of this stuff matters as you move higher up in the tiers. Remember, these banks want to lend to credible, lendable businesses. If you don't have a website in 2021, I'm not going to say you automatically won't get funding, but it could happen. It could be a deal breaker. Some banks may say, hey, look, we don't want to lend to you because we don't know if your customers can find you on the web. All right, now with the tier 2 trade lines, you want to also make sure you got some scores generated. So you want to have an 80 Paydex or some type of Paydex score generated. 70 plus Experian Intelligence score. You want to have scores on all 3 business bureaus before you move to tier 2. And now we're going to get into the tier 2 vendors, right? All right, so here's just a quick list of tier 2 vendors that I like. Now, again, my business primarily is real estate. I also have an e-commerce store, Shopify store, Walmart store coming soon. So depending on what business you have, I would recommend finding some tier 2s that you can utilize, right? Like for instance, Uline, for all my e-commerce folks, when you're shipping out items, if you're doing Amazon FBA, you can get boxes from Uline, save some money there because again, they give you a net 30, so you got 30 days to pay it back. You can ship off items and then pay it back once the customers pay you for your items. So try to find vendors that you can utilize in your business. At this point, once you get 4, if you want to start going for business lines of credit, city cards, bank visas, MasterCard, Amex, you're pretty much in a solid position once you get through tier 1. Now for tier 2, 3, and all of that, that's if you really want to build out a strong business credit profile. Maybe you want to finance a vehicle in your business name, no PG. Then you're really going to want to build this thing out to how we're structuring it in this live stream. So if you are looking to get a vehicle, no PG. If you're looking to down the line, maybe get a couple business credit cards, no PG, then you're going to want to go at least to tier 3. All right. But if you just want to, get to, the Amex, the local bank credit cards, business lines of credit, PNCs, things of that nature, then yeah, just get to 0 to 4 and then you're good to go. Make sure your personal credit is structured properly. All right. So again, some of the trade lines I like Home Depot commercial, not the revolving. I like the commercial. Once you have 4+ trade lines, you can get this as a no PG. It's backed by Citibank, so it is underwritten by Citibank as well. It's a net 60 account with no PG if you have scores and trade lines reported. Now, the limit may vary. You may not get a high limit versus PG. So let's say if you PG, you might get 10,000. If you don't PG for the commercial account, you may get a 2,000, 3,000. But again, if you're not, in Home Depot, if you're not a general contractor or a real estate investor, flipper, who really cares? When are you going to really use $2,000 worth of Home Depot supplies or whatever the case? So it's good to have. It reports the experience, so it's good to have. Now, I recommend you do it this way versus PG. Always go to no PG route. You can always ask the PG later. Another one is Honda Commercial, also underwritten by Citibank. So these tier 2s, you start to see a theme. They have the similar bank underwriters, right? Citi, Synchrony, things of that nature. All right, so Honda Commercial, they sell commercial gas, lawnmowers, power tools, gas power tools. So if you got like a lawn care business, this would be a perfect vendor to start building business credit for your business. All right. So yeah, Honda Commercial, that's a great tier 2 vendor. Remember, when you go from tier 1 to tier 2, you want to have 0 to 4 trade lines reporting. All right. Now, tier 2 best practices. You want to add vendors that report versus vendors that you need for your business. So you got to make a decision at this stage. Do you want to continue going with vendors that are reporting, or do you want to use vendors that you can utilize in your business? Again, remember, we business people, so you got to make a decision on how many tier 2s you want to get. I recommend you get about 3. If you want to get 5 or 6 or 7, it's really up to you on how you go about it. I recommend once you get to 4, add 3 tier 2s and 3 tier 3s, and then you're done. Anything outside of that, pretty much you want to just use vendors that you can utilize in your business. Now, example of this, Sunbelt Tools versus Creative Analytics, right? Not many businesses can utilize Sunbelt Tools account, right? Not many businesses are renting heavy machinery equipment. Yes, they report. Yes, it's great to have another trade line that reports. But if you have a business and you have a need for a website or a need for SEO, Creative Analytics may be a better option. Okay. You have to, at this point, when you get to tier 2, you have to start looking at it from a justification standpoint. Do I need this trade line for my business? If you don't need Sunbelt Tools, don't open Sunbelt Tools account. It's just another vendor. It's doing you no good if you open it up and you don't utilize the trade line, right? Because you have to understand, to move through these tiers, they want to see that you are using these trade lines, paying 7 to 10 days early, and using them again, using them again. So if you're not using a trade line, it's worthless to you if you use it once in the reports. Big deal. Use it over and over again, build it up, get it high as possible versus just adding trade lines to have trade lines that report. That's just my personal opinion. Y'all let me know in the comments if you agree. If you don't, let's talk about it. All right. So, and then again, another example of tier 2 vendors that you can use in your business. Staples is great. Office supplies, pretty much you're going to need staples at some point. You're going to need paper for your printer, a printer, some type of office equipment, whether you're working at home or working in the office. Office Depot, right? Office Depot, same situation. Office supplies, pretty much all businesses can use a printer, use ink. So why not go with Staples versus Lowe's? If you don't buy lumber at Lowe's, or if you don't buy power tools, if you're not a general contractor, I would not necessarily advise you to open up a Lowe's tier 2 account, okay? Because once you get to 0 to 4 trade line, once you get out of tier 1, now you have options. You can go to a Sam's Club and no PG. You can go to Home Depot if you choose. You can go to Staples. You got more options once you get out of tier 1. Now, it's going to be hard. The hardest part is getting out of tier 1 into tier 2. So when you get to tier 2, I always say pick trade lines that you can use first. Pick the ones that you can use first. If you can use if you can use Lowe's, like me as a real estate investor, I went for Lowe's because I utilize it in my business. Don't go to Lowe's just to get a trade line that reports. Don't go to Sunbelt Tools just because they report the trade line. It does you no good, in my personal opinion. All right, so Sam's Club is another example. If you have a vending machine business, I'm buying a vending machine next week. Sam's Club is great for that. You can get it, pretty cheap. You can buy, snacks to stock your vending machines and things of that nature. So, use trade lines that you can utilize over and over and over, right? Because as you grow those trade lines, they build up over time. You can essentially, get, 50, 100 grand on no PG, net 30, net 20 business credit trade lines. So as you go along, just keep that in mind, all right? And then let's talk about tier 3 as we wrap up. Tier 3 trade lines, the best practice. Now, some trade lines to keep in mind when you get to tier 3, Dell products, right? So you can get Dell computers. They do net 30, I believe. I haven't even applied for Dell, honestly. I've been going for the cash cards, the business lines of credit, the bank funding. I haven't really spent a lot of time on the vendor side. I need to, because I got another company I'm bringing online to start building some business credit for. So, and again, remember, this is a rinse and repeat process. You can build business credit for multiple businesses. So as you go through these tiers, you can rinse and repeat, start from tier 1, move to tier 2, move to tier 3, and on up to tier 4, where you can get, vehicles in your business name without person guaranteeing. So Dell is one trade line I recommend. Apple CIT Finance. So if you want to get some computers, iPads, iPhones, Apple products for your business, if you want to get a laptop, you can use CIT Finance. They report, I believe they pull personal credit. So that one may not be no PG. I'll get some data on it and report back. And then also Best Buy commercial. So again, if you're a photographer, for instance, if you have a content business where you shoot content, you have a studio, you can utilize Best Buy at the tier 3 level to now maybe not have to, come out of pocket every time you need to buy equipment for your photo shoot or for your photo studio. All right. So one thing to keep in mind with tier 3 is you want to have 8 to 10 trade lines at this point. When you apply for Dell, Apple, Best Buy, you may want to have, about 8 to 10. Like I said, last week on our live, we covered 10 trade lines that you can pretty much get that report to different business credit bureaus. So essentially, you could take last week's strategy and compact what we're talking about tonight, and pretty much put a game plan together on how to attack these business tiers, right? You can start with tier 1, get to tier 2 in 60 days, tier 3 in 90 days, and be done with the whole process in about 90 days. no more than 180 days, right? You don't want to spend 2 years building business credit. That's not the goal at all. We talk about building business credit. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. Now, like I said, Dell is great for tier 3 vendor. Apple CIT Finance. So if you want to buy some MacBooks, some Apple laptops, iPads, what else Apple sell? iPhones, the whole nine, everything in the Apple Store. And then Best Buy Commercial. These are some good tier 3 vendors that report that you can get once you have 8 to 10 vendors reporting on your business credit trade lines. All right, so keep that in mind. And we'll wrap up here soon. We'll take some Q&A. But the main thing about tonight that we want to kind of highlight and stress is that as you move along each business trade line tier, from tier 1 to tier 2, from tier 2 to tier 3, you want to build this thing out in such a way that you are utilizing these vendors. You don't want to be in a situation where you got an Apple vendor, but you're a lawn care business, right? I mean, you could buy a laptop for your lawn care, but how many laptops will you buy in a 12-month period? Versus maybe if you had a Honda account and you could buy lawn care gas-powered equipment. You may buy some trimmers or power tools. You may, utilize that more in your lawn care business. Now, again, with me in the real estate, I would go for Lowe's. Sam's Club, I pretty much say every business can use Sam's Club, Staples, Office Max. Those are pretty generic across the board. All businesses can use Sam's Club. All businesses can use Staples, Office Max. So those are kind of, across the board, every business can use. But just keep that in mind. You don't want to just get a trade line. Oh, this trade line report, let me go and grab that. No, that's what the tier 1 is for. Tier 1 is where you're getting trade lines that report. So if you go back to my video when we did last week, when I covered 10 vendor accounts that you can get. So that's on my YouTube channel over on YouTube. Same handle, Carolina's Own. I gave you guys 10 trade lines that you can get pretty much as a new to business credit or a new business. So if you're new to established business credit or if you're a brand new business out the box, watch that video. Take some notes. I'll put the links to all of the trade lines that you can apply for them. You can pretty much apply for all of those. Just make sure you got your DUNS number, and you should be good to go. But those 10 you can start with, and then you can kind of add on the other tier 2s we talked about tonight, and then tier 3. Now, tier 4, just real quick, we're not going to get too deep into it. That's where you can go to Ford and get a vehicle without personally guaranteeing, meaning you don't have to be liable for the debt. You don't have to provide your personal credit report, or you don't have to put up a PG. Ally Financial, PNC Bank will do no PG vehicle loans. Capital One, they may ask for a PG, but they will not report to your personal credit, which is powerful. So even though they may ask for a PG, they won't report the debt unless you default on your personal credit. So that's really much tier 4 for me, and that's what I'm aiming to get to at this point. Move through tier 1, 2, 3, and get to tier 4, and get vehicles for my business. It's not affecting my personal DTI, debt to income, and things of that nature. All right, so that's pretty much the live for tonight, man. So just wrapping up. You get to the point where you can know PG after you got about 10 business trade lines established, okay? So when you hear people talk about how they got Blue Vine, Funbox, all of these fintechs, Divvy card with no PG, what you have to understand is that even though it's a no PG, that's not revolving debt, right? You can't just pull money off these cards. You can pull money off the Divvy card. It is a charge card, but it's due in 30 days. So it's still net payment terms. All right? It's still net payment terms. Versus if you have a business and you get a Bank of America credit card for your business, now you have revolving debt, meaning you can use $10,000, make the minimum payment, and use it in your business. Whether you have a t-shirt business, you can spend money on advertising, Facebook ads, without having to pay in full that $10,000 in 30 days. So just keep that in mind, because you hear a lot of people say, oh, you don't need to personally guarantee for business credit. But yes and no, right? There is a time to personally guarantee and there's a time not to. If you're going for the Sam's Club card, right? If you're going for the Sam's Club card, don't PG. If you're going for a Bank of America business credit card, you will need the PG. I'm going to tell you the PG. If all the other gurus are not, I'm going to tell you the PG for the Bank of America, because that is where you can liquidate the card or the line of credit and put that money right into your business. Versus the Sam's Club card, it's revolving, right? But you can only use it at Sam's. Now, it does help because it reports to business experience, but just keep the two in mind when we talk about no PG. Another thing to keep in mind, you want to have a minimum of 4 trade lines reporting on all 3 business bureaus. So get to 3. Again, if you head on over to the YouTube channel, Carolina's Own, the first video, I did a whole breakdown on how to get an 80 Paydex Dun & Bradstreet score in 60 days. Remember, speed is life in business. We are business owners first, meaning we have a responsibility to make sure we hit our numbers and bring in revenue over in a 30-day period. So this portion of, building out business credit should not take you more than 90 to 180 days. So the faster you can get to that 80 Paydex, the better, the quicker you can start applying for Citibank, Chase, Wells Fargo credit cards and getting automatic approvals, okay? All right, so the 80 Paydex in 60 days, watch that video. I'll break the whole play down for you. And then one thing to keep in mind with, Chase, Navy Federal, Amex, they look at Dun & Bradstreet as well as your personal experience. So if you are clean on Dun & Bradstreet, if you have an 80 Paydex, you got 5, 10 trade lines reporting, that may weigh heavily if you have a strong personal credit profile. So if you're a 720 personally and then you got an 80 Paydex, American Express may throw you $30,000 on a business credit card, right? Because now they look at you as legitimate on the personal side and the business side, okay? So again, you want to make sure you get those 4 trade lines before you kind of move into tier 2, tier 3, all right? And again, you start with tier 1, which is essentially all the starter vendors that we talked about last week, the 10 that I named. You start with those, then you move to tier 2, and then tier 3. Tier 2 and tier 3, I would say pick vendors that you can utilize in your business, because at that point you have options. You don't necessarily have to go with Uline. You don't necessarily have to use Quill or the gas cards, right? Because you move past that. You kind of past that point where you have to, start with these vendors because you don't have any trade lines. You can be a little more selective and picky. All right. And like I said, remember, Amex, they look at Dun & Bradstreet. U.S. Bank, they'll pull Dun & Bradstreet. Chase, Citi, all of those cards, they will look at Dun & Bradstreet as well. So yeah. So that's pretty much it, man. If y'all got any questions about business credit, let me know where you're at in your business credit journey. Have you started building business credit? Are you interested in building business credit? Let's talk about it, man. Let's wrap up with some Q&A. For anybody on Facebook, if you got any questions about anything, tap in with me. And let's talk about business credit, man. Let's see if we got any questions on Facebook or YouTube. Let me know what y'all thought about the presentation too, man. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel, Carolina's Own. Got more content coming soon. Go live every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tap in with me on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. All right. And with that being said, I don't see any kind of questions about anything. Hey, welcome to everybody just joining the live stream. We're talking about how to build business credit. If you got business credit questions about anything, You can ask here on Instagram. If you're on YouTube, you can ask on the YouTube channel. Again, this will be up tonight on the YouTube channel. And essentially, you guys can start executing on these strategies that we give you guys each and every week. All right. So make sure you ask your questions. If you have any, next week I will not be going live because I'm getting married. So yeah, I'll be getting ready to walk down. Well, not walk down the aisle, but marry my bride to be. So I probably won't be doing the live stream next Friday, but we'll be back the following Friday. So tap in with me. Let me go. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, Stevenson? Glad you could make it, man. I want to know how to add a NAV booster. Great question. If you send me a DM and I'll send you the link. I have a link you can subscribe to NAV. It's $39 for the business boost plan, and it is $49 for the business loan builder. Now, the difference between the two, the business loan builder gives you the SBSS score. So if you're going for a PNC, business line of credit, TD Bank, you know, all of the Experian banks, Chase, all of those banks that pull Experian, you're going to probably want to know what your SBSS score is. But if you want to just start out with a business trade line and you're kind of new to it, you're not really ready to go for bank funding, get the NAV business boost. So I'll send that link to you via Instagram. So that's a great question. But that's pretty much the difference between the two. How do you take advantage of it? It depends, man. If you have, let's say you have marketing, right? All businesses need to have some type of marketing department, some type of marketing leg in their business. You can use business credit cash cards for business marketing. You can use cash cards to pay VAs, virtual assistants, right? Contractors. You can use it how I used it. I partnered with it, right? So I had cash in my business. I would pay my staff, and then I would pay my marketing software expenses via I will use the business credit cards to pay for my prop stream, pay for my recurring bills in the business. What's going on, the people's lender? Hopefully, welcome, man. We're just talking about building business credit, how to go from tier 1, tier 2 to tier 3 in a succinct order where you're kind of not wasting time. You can get this done pretty much in 90 to 180 days. Because again, speed is life when we're talking about business. We are business owners first. We don't want to, take away from our business and adding to our revenue to actually build business credit. So I try to give you guys tips and strategies on how to build business credit quickly, easily, not wasting time. We talked about on the live stream last week, gave you guys 10 vendors that you could pretty much utilize out the box and get some trade lines reporting pretty easily. How much is the consultation? A one-on-one strategy call, if you click the link in the bio right now, it's $75 for our consultation. I just did one with a young guy today. Got him some banks. And basically what we'll do on the call is on the one-on-one strategy call, we'll see where you at with your personal credit scores and your business credit scores. We can kind of make some recommendations on how to get a game plan together for the next 90 days. So like I said, I do have some other trade lines that's reserved for my clients. So if you are looking to get a consultation, you can click the link in the bio. Now, I will say probably if you want to do a one-on-one call, you probably want to get that in before Wednesday because like I said, I'm getting married. So probably shutting all that down as a Wednesday, man, to get ready for that. And then we'll be back rocking and rolling when I get back from the honeymoon. So if you want to get the consultation in, we can set it up. If you need to do it on the weekend, tomorrow or Sunday, I'm flexible. So we can do it on a weekend if you want to get it out the way this weekend. But definitely click the link in the bio and let's set that up, man, and get you some funding, get you a strategy together. How to build a business credit. But yeah, great question. Any Facebook questions? Any YouTube guys? Anybody out there in YouTube land? Y'all got questions? I got answers. Also, if you're in North Carolina or South Carolina, York County, Lancaster, anywhere in the Charlotte surrounding area, we're putting together a meetup. So this will probably be later in April. So it won't be anytime soon. I'm just putting this out there to see if anybody got any interest. Send me a DM if you're on Instagram, or if you're on YouTube or Facebook. Send me a message on Instagram, Carolina Zone. Do you save the live? Absolutely. The live will be saved. You'll have access to it, bro. So don't even trip. You'll have access to the live. But I'm thinking about doing a business credit meetup at Top Golf. So DM me on Instagram if you would be interested. I just want to get a head count, because when you do the reservations with Top Golf, they ask you how many people are in your party. So if I need to get 3 booths or 2 booths, I think each booth will hold 8 people. So we'll probably keep it to about 30 people, 24 to 30 people. We'll have about maybe no more than 3 booths. We just meet up. We're gonna talk about, business credit, and just, kick back, have some drinks. Just like the network with entrepreneurs, build my network. I'm not the entrepreneur of the year, so I always like to learn and get better. And network with like-minded people, fellow business owners, entrepreneurs such as myself. I'm not sure what day. So right now I'm just putting it out there. It'll be sometime in April though. I'm thinking probably a Sunday in April. Either Sunday or Saturday in April. Because I want to make sure it's a good weather day. I gotta get with my guy Brandon, who we did the one-on-one consult today. He's gonna be in town. So I figured if he's in town, man, maybe we can, get a couple people together. We'll keep it small, maybe at 30 max. It won't be big. But just something for everybody to come together, and kind of just, network, build, talk about business credit, and bounce off ideas with each other. Okay, cool. Definitely, man. Tap in with me on the Instagram, or if we book the one-on-one, just remind me, man, and I'll make sure I get you added to the email list. I'm gonna shoot an email out to everybody who wants to attend the Top Golf. So if you are in the Charlotte metro area, High Point, Winston, Greensboro, if you want to drive down, reach out to me. Because, yeah, like I said, we probably do it on a Saturday or a Sunday in April. One of the Saturdays or Sundays in April. I'm not sure exact dates, but I just want to get a head count for anybody who may be interested. But, yeah, man, I think we're wrapping up. We're coming up on that hour mark. And again, hopefully this was some valuable content for you guys on how to actually move through each tier, because you don't want to be in a position where you get stuck in tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3. You want to move fluidly through each tier, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. You don't want to get stuck at 1 and then, it'd be hard for you to move around in the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. All right, so that's my time. I'm gonna go grab some food because the brother is hungry. If you're catching this on the replay, YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We appreciate the support. Like this video, comment, let me know if you were aware of any of these business tiers. If you're new to business credit, let me know if the content is any good, if you find any value out of it. And as always, subscribe to the channel and like the video, and we'll catch you guys on the next live stream. Again, next week I won't be going live. I'll be getting married, but the following week we'll be back with another live stream in April, man. So y'all be blessed. Have a good night. Let's build this business credit. Let's get this $250,000 in capital, and let's rinse and repeat this process for every business that we own. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the live.